As we left the supermarket, Mira held my hand and quietly asked, "Mom, are we poor?" I looked into her curious eyes, and the simple question made my heart feel unexpectedly heavy. When I asked why, she reminded me that I often said we didn't have enough money, and hearing my own words back changed something inside me. I smiled and told her we weren't poor. We were simply choosing to spend our money on what mattered most right now. "My name is Clara." And that afternoon, I realized I had been teaching Mira about money without realizing I might also be teaching her to fear it. After we got home, everything felt normal again, but Mira's question stayed quietly in my mind. While making dinner, I realized how often I answered her with, "Maybe later," or "We don't have the money right now." After dinner, Mira drew our family with a little piggy bank, and I wondered what she was learning about money from us. That night, an old photo of my childhood home reminded me how often I had heard adults worrying about money. I realized I never understood the numbers, but I remembered how that worry made our home feel. Maybe that was why spending money still made me uneasy, even when we were financially stable. As I tucked Mira into bed, I hoped she would learn to value money without inheriting the fear I had carried for so many years. The next morning, as I drove Mira to school, her question, "Are we poor?" kept echoing in my mind. After dropping her off, I sat in the car wondering when "we don't have enough money" had become my automatic response. Looking at our budget, I saw we were financially stable, yet I still spoke as if we were always struggling. I remembered hearing those same words as a child and realized they carried fear more than financial reality. That afternoon, I understood children may not grasp budgets, but they quickly absorb the emotions behind our words. When Mira asked for ice cream, I explained it wasn't in this month's plan, instead of saying we had no money. The conversation ended with a smile, and I realized that changing one sentence had completely changed how money felt between us. That night, I told Armand about Mira's question, and he listened quietly as I shared the guilt I still carried. He admitted he often said, "We don't have the money," because it was the easiest answer. And I realized it was the fear behind those words that mattered. His quiet response made me see the difference between teaching a child how to spend money and helping them understand it. A few days later, I watched Mira playing pretend store, turning ordinary household items into her own little world. Then I heard her tell a toy, "You can't buy it because the money might run out," and my heart sank. I realized children quietly absorb the everyday words we repeat, and those words slowly shape how they see the world. That night, I wrote one sentence in my notebook, believing that real change could begin with the words we used at home. Our days stayed the same, but I began paying closer attention to the words I used whenever we talked about money. When Mira pointed at a bicycle, I paused before answering the way I always had. I told her our money already had other jobs this month, and we could save together if she still wanted the bike later. On the way home, I realized I had stopped seeing money as something disappearing and started seeing it as something working for us. That night, the numbers in our budget were unchanged, but my perspective had quietly shifted. I realized children don't need parents who can buy everything. They need parents who stay calm when making financial choices. Little by little, I replaced fearful words with hopeful ones, so Mira could grow up hearing confidence instead of worry. On a quiet Saturday, I found my old piggy bank while cleaning, and it brought back memories of my childhood. Myra's curious questions made me smile as we talked about the little piggy bank together. Though it was empty, it reminded me that children often remember the feelings around money more than the amounts. That afternoon, I heard Mira tell her doll to save first, using the same hopeful words I had recently begun saying. Watching her, I realized children can inherit hope just as easily as they learned fear. When Mira handed me colorful buttons for my own savings, she smiled and said we could keep learning together. In that moment, I knew I wanted to pass on not the fear of money, but the confidence to face it with calm and wisdom. That night, I sat with my old piggy bank and wondered what my parents had truly hoped to teach me about money. I realized fear is often passed from one generation to the next without anyone intending to do harm. In my notebook, I wrote that while I couldn't change my childhood, I could help shape the memories Mira would carry. The next morning, I chose my words more carefully, knowing they would become part of Mira's view of the world. That afternoon, I brought home 3 glass jars and told Mira we were starting a new project together. We labeled them Give, Save, and Spend, and I explained that every dollar has a different purpose. For the first time, I felt I was teaching Mira about money with confidence instead of passing on my own fear. That night, I showed Armand the 3 jars, and he smiled as he asked how the idea had begun. I told him about Myra's question, our pretend shop, and how hearing my own words through her had changed me. Armand said children learn not only from our lessons, but also from how we speak when we're worried. I showed him the 3-Jar Mira Method, explaining that it was about building a healthy relationship with money, not just saving it. We talked about the meaning of give, save, and spend, hoping Mira would see money as a tool for kindness, wisdom, and everyday life. We agreed that whenever Mira received money, she would choose how to divide it among the 3 jars herself. Before bed, Armand thanked me for helping break a cycle of fear, and I realized the greatest inheritance we could give Mira was a sense of financial peace. On Sunday, we sat with Mira on the living room floor, using 3 jars and a few coins to begin learning about money together. I introduced the give jar, and with a smile, Mira happily placed her first contribution inside. At the save jar, I explained that dreams grow little by little, and Mira smiled as she understood. The spend jar made her laugh when she realized ice cream would come only from that money. A few weeks later, she chose to keep saving for a bicycle instead of buying it right away. The biggest change was in me. I stopped saying, "We don't have money," and started talking about the purpose of our money. One night, Mira hugged me and said she loved saving and sharing. And I quietly realized that's where a healthy relationship with money truly begins. If there's one lesson I hope every parent hears, it's that children should see money as a tool, not something to fear. Our parents did the best they could, and now we have the chance to pass their love forward with a little more peace and understanding. The 3-Jar Mira Method became a simple reminder to give, save, and enjoy money without letting fear guide our choices. I believe the greatest financial gift we can leave our children is a calm and healthy relationship with money, not just a larger savings account. Before we end today, I'd love to ask, what's the hardest question your child has ever asked about money, and how did you answer it?